Birds of Prey and something something Harley Quinn is basically just a Harley Quinn film with the Birds of Prey sprinkled in, and they don't even form until basically the end. It's not really a bad film, it's just kind of confused. It has really fun action, and I like the main cast. The only thing's really wrong with it, kind of one dimensional, weird take on Black Mask, and just taking the name Cassandra Cain and stapling it to a completely unrelated character. But as I often do, how would I do it differently? I turn it into Gotham City Sirens, properly just making it into a Harley Quinn film. The film begins with Harley giving her own narration. She tells her own origin story, saying she was born just kind of a normal family. I mean, everyone's parents lock them out from the house and drive them miles away just to see if they will actually return and see how skilled they are to break into their own home. Eventually, they drop them off to stay with the T guy, even though normally they visit the Star guy, but whatever. She eventually went to college and got a doctorate, started working at Arkham, and that's where she met Mr. J, played by Bill Skarsgård. She was assigned to be his psychologist, and this scene plays out just like the animated series, but also adding he used to run with the Red Hood gang, where Harley concludes that he's a tortured soul crying out for love and acceptance, tortured by the Bat, eventually snapping and busting him out, and they fell mad in love. So after visiting her family and her new little brother, she dived into some chemicals to be just like the Joker. And he's like, whatever, but then he dropped his cane into the chemicals, so he jumps in after it, accidentally saving Harley, which she took as intentional, and they totally made out in the chemicals. She was caught because during a bank robbery where we get to see some of her acrobatics, her and Joker were escaping together, but oh no, the Bat's chasing after him. So Joker knows what to do, especially when the Bat jumps onto his car. He uses the ejector seat. Singular.
Sorry, kiddo! I could only afford one!
Batman saved Harley, but still took her to jail, where she stayed for 4 years until the government assigned her to a squad to do a thing, where her and her squad uncovered a government secret. That Captain Boomerang has to have the largest penis she's ever seen. Harley saw him in the woods peeing. Peacemaker would be the third. Never really saw the rest of the gangs, other than Deadshot, who surprisingly has one of the smaller ones that I've seen. And Mr. J would be a 5, sometimes 6, but I think that's just due to the weather. And speaking of Joker, after the squad got back to Belle Reve, he was escaping jail, and at that same time he happened to see Harley was there and just break her out. Waller tried detonating her bomb, but it turned out that the bomb in her head was just a dud. Then 4 more years later, cut to present time, with the Joker watching a podcast right along with Jack Ryder, with him basically recapping what happened in Batman Under the Red Hood, and how that Red Hood guy reestablished the Red Hood gang and took out most of the crime bosses of Gotham. Then during the Battle of the Junkyard, most of them were arrested, and still somehow the Joker has tons of men. The Joker's watching, but mostly just having it on as noise as he goes through some plans, and he gets a call by Harley. He heads over to Ace Chemicals, and it turns out that she kidnapped Jack Ryder and supposedly Batman, and she thinks he's going to be happy because she's got the Bat and that guy he really likes, but in reality he's pissed because he wasn't the one who got the Bat. But she's like, well, I mean, it's one of your ideas I just took by dipping them in the Joker chemicals. I just made it so they're upside down so it looks like they're smiling as they go in. But if you have to explain the joke, there is no joke. And then suddenly, Batman really breaks in, and we, for some reason, don't see his face. Joker's like, it's not even the real Batman. And Harley's like, well, I saw 20 people dressed like Robin, 1 even Batgirl, and only 1 Batman. How was I supposed to know? And this leads into a big fight, and Batman rescues the hostages, but then one of the Joker thugs pushes Jack Ryder into the chemicals either way. Then Carrie shows up just to be knocked into the controls, and then the chemicals get flushed away with Jack Ryder, which gives the Joker gang an opportunity to escape. Then in the awkward silence car ride home, Harley's like, so, anyone want late night breakfast? And then back home, Harley gets tossed out. One of the thugs is like, sorry Harley, the boss man doesn't want you around anymore. The punchline's like, yeah, now put an egg in your shoe and beat it. And they chuckle a little. Clearly, Joker took their breakup harder. Harley does some, girl stuff, like cut her hair, and then immediately hate it. impulse buy a dog or two, watch cartoons and cry, and then drive a semi into your ex's lair. This gets the attention of the Gotham City PD. Officer Renee Montoya discovers Harley's pudding choker, and Jim Gordon realizes this means that Harley and him had a bad breakup. With Montoya realizing if we capture her, that means we can get some information about the Joker. Then Crispus Allen gets an alert that there's another thing happening, but there's a third thing happening with Harley drinking and driving on the sidewalk and running over some guy, who turns out to be Roman Sionis' driver, the Black Mask driver. And he yells for his thugs to go chase them, and they do. They got like weird face paint. We see Jack Ryder realizing what the chemicals has done to him, and like the Black Mask guys run past him yelling, "Up yours, creeper." Eventually they find Harley crashed into the local abandoned park, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's Joker's girlfriend." And she's like stumbling around like, "That's right, I'm Harley the Queen, single and ready to mingle on all this free real estate." And she like shoots her gun in the air like 3 times and taking out one of the street lights. And she runs out of ammo. Is like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, ammo is really expensive. Can I borrow one of your guns?" Then the thugs realize she doesn't have Joker protection. But before it gets ugly, they get attacked by vines. We see a lady in the shadows. And then the next morning, Harley wakes up in a gazebo. And the one who saved her was Poison Ivy. And Harley immediately recognizes her from her time working in Arkham, where she used to be experimented on by her old professor, turning her into an elemental, and then she got caught. They bond over shared trauma of dealing with their former mentors. Harley thinks Ivy's really cool because of her plant powers. She's been laying low in this overgrown park, because one day she wants to head to Brazil and fight deforestation, and she's been working on chemicals to make plants grow faster. She wants to break into a cosmetic firm to steal some items and make them pay for using so much argan and palm oil. Harley's like, "Sure, I'll help out. But first, we need breakfast." She heads out and we get the whole breakfast sandwich scene from the original film. So denied a breakfast sandwich, she steals some animal crackers, gives one to Ivy, and they head out. And then like a little detail that Ivy just chucks her bag away. Of Harley sneaking into the vents, just for her to come across someone else in the vents. And she was like, "What the hell? I was here first." And then the other lady, Catwoman, is like, "Buzz off, I was here first." They have a little bit of back and forth until eventually they accidentally smash through the vents, setting off the alarms. So Harley and Catwoman fight together, and then Ivy smashes through the wall with a giant plant monster, and they escape. They all meet back up at the gazebo, and Catwoman is really confused about not one but 2 hyenas. Harley introduces them as Bud and Lou, and Bud is short for Bruce, named after that guy in Gotham. Catwoman kind of chuckles because she used to date him, and everyone's like, "What? No." And something about how she looks great for her age. They managed to get a little bit of things in the cosmetics and a bunch of money, so they decide to team up together. And we get a montage of them going on more heists, and they use their like sexiness to their advantage completely tastefully. And it's all set to hit me with your best shot. And then with all that money they took, they have a pizza and margarita party. And Harley's confused about what exactly Poison Ivy eats, and she explains that she's basically a carnivore, which makes the others kind of weirded out. And then we cut back to Roman Sionis, and like on paper, Ian McGregor is a good choice. He is a great actor, but for some reason they kind of toned him into this weird, goofy, but also sometimes serious role. Given who plays Huntress, I had him play the Question instead in my 4 different stories video. So for Black Mass, I'm going to cast Hoffman from Saw instead. But we still get essentially the scenes with him talking with the Golden Lion family and then having them strung up when they refuse to take protection from him. But then when they're strung up, he's wearing the black mask. He has Dad's friend in them, and the Golden Lion guy is like, "Oh, come on, Privilege. Do you really need our money?" And Black Mask takes his mask off, and he's like, "No, I'm not privileged." The Sionis family had to bust its ass to get where it is today. Gilded Age immigrants aren't the same kind of old money as you. The elves hate us, so we had to make our own group like them. Despite what everyone thinks, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I never had duck. My miser of a father always taught me status matters more than anything. It matters more than even your own face. Status was everything to this man, and he never wanted me to take for granted any money we ever had because our ancestors were poor. Whatever I wanted was always no, so I had to do everything my own way. So my parents had an unfortunate fire accident in their summer home. I inherited all their money and rose because of my own two hands to being one of the top dogs of Gotham. And with that prick Red Hood taking out my competition and Penguin being behind bars, before No Face and the Crossbow Killer took out Carmine Falcone, he said he was the Roman Empire. But no, I'm the real Roman Empire of Gotham. He puts the Black Mask back on, and he has Zsasz cut their faces off. Black Mask knows that the Golden Lions have a special diamond that has their offshore bank account numbers carved into it, so sets up a team to go find the MacGuffin.
Woman, freak, woman, vermin, woman, women, vermin, and freak! Get back to work!
Harley and Selina are scoping out the area to see where next they can hit. We see a girl walking down the street pickpocketing people. She tries that on Harley, but she gets stopped. And Selina actually recognizes the orphan as Holly Robinson. She's a runaway who has a passion for stealing. And Harley says one day she's going to steal something from the wrong person. And oh no, conveniently, she steals a diamond, and then she gets caught by someone else stealing something. She realizes she has the diamond and swallows it. Then Zsasz realizes the diamond's gone as soon as he gets back to Roman, and he's not happy about this. And just at that moment, his henchman Magpie starts laughing about something unrelated, and then we get the get on the table scene from the original. He also notes he hates her look and tells her to change. Meanwhile, of Harley, she's walking, gets to be confronted by someone else. That other guy gets shot in the throat by Bruno. She has to be played by Olga Kukulina. She's actually Jewish, but that's funny. Her and her squad were sent by Roman because Zsasz saw her with the kid. Harley starts laughing about Magpie's new costume, and she says that it's because Roman thought it looked nice. Harley tries punching Bruno, but it's like punching a brick wall. Then Harley whips out her gun at her. She crushes Harley's gun, and she says something about how metahumans are the true Ubermensch. Meanwhile, the twins Rob and Don are robbing a liquor store right next to everyone. Like, Bruno's mad that they weren't distracted so easily, which gives the owner guy the opportunity to pull a gun on the two. But then Bruno just turns him to Swiss cheese. But he also hit a silent alarm, so the cops are arriving. So Bruno just quickly takes them out. Much like in that scene from Kick-Ass 2, because I'm on an original. They grab Harley, and we essentially get the same scene, more or less. With Roman forcing her to look for the girl. Maybe a music scene or something. With Roman putting a bounty on her head. Harley picks up some materials from the gazebo. With her yelling about where the hell Holly is, and Selina's like she's been arrested. Selina heads out to go get her, and Ivy's like, why you care about Holly all of a sudden? And Harley's like, it's personal, and she bails. Selina stalks out the Gotham City building to see how to get in most sneakily, just for Harley to go in and take out the cops, just like in the original film. But set it to typo negative Cinnamon Girl, just because I think it'll be cool. And also, Selina sees what's going on inside, and instead of confetti, it's actual blood. Selina's like, why you care about Holly all of a sudden? And Harley reveals that she's got a diamond in her, which leads to them kind of tussling. But then this gets broken up by Bruno and her gang of bad German people. We get the evidence locker fight from the original, but now with Catwoman here. And maybe like on the cocaine, it says like, as a reference to the comics, Snowflame, if you know, you know. Selina tries fighting Bruno, but she's like super tough and she almost gets killed. Until Ivy arrives and Bruno gets eaten by a giant Venus flytrap. But then Harley gets strung up by Ivy. She demands to know what's going on. And Harley starts crying that all these other villains are self-made and she's only a Harley Quinn and they're meant to serve. She just wants to be independent and all reality is fighting against her. Ivy's like, oh, what? You don't have to be so self-centered. We can work as a team. We got this. But then the SWAT team arrives, which gets Ivy distracted enough for Harley to escape, grab Holly, and steal a van. And on the way out, she accidentally runs over Jack Ryder, saying, up here's Freakazoid. Selina chases after her as Ivy gets captured by the police. And the film kind of continues normally for a bit. With Ivy, she's getting interrogated by Gordon. Gordon's trying to play good cop and say they really need Harley for information. Tries comparing Ivy to his daughter, Barbara, but it's kind of weird. And Ivy, no matter what, just keeps giving everyone the silent treatment. But then Bruno erupts from the Venus flytrap, and the cops have to start fighting her. Montoya goes after Ivy, who tries escaping. Back at the gazebo, Harley feeds her dogs. And then now she has to grab everything because they are leaving. Harley's like, why? And Harley's like, well, because I can't exactly fight Roman Sionis. Harley's like, why? And Harley's like, well, because he's got a bajillion men. Why? He's gonna kill me, do bad things to my body, do bad things to you while alive, and then cut you open and get the damn diamond. But you're like the most badass, hottest queen I've ever seen in my life. You've been with that ass clown for several years and you survived. You can definitely deal with some incel and a stupid mask. You're goddamn right. And they suit up, ready to take on Black Mask. And conveniently, they show up at the park and start torching the place. And Catwoman got captured by Zsasz, and they're both there. And she's like, he's a sexist pig who just loves killing women because they're prettier than he is. He's like, nah, all I do is just free people from this prison of life. I would do the same to an ugly old man. Rowan puts on his mask. And conveniently, Montoya captures Ivy just as they're outside of the park. And they see what's going on. Montoya heads in. Harley sees Zsasz and starts using that degree to her advantage, saying that his deep-rooted sexism and narcissism is probably due to his lack of a positive influence in his life. And Zsasz is like, well, I guess you're kind of right. My family always took care of me, but I never really felt a connection to anyone. Hurt people and myself just to feel something in this prison of a world until Roman hired me and I started feeling things around him that I never felt before around anyone else. I guess in some ways I do kind of love, and then he gets eaten by a giant via flytrap. Harley's grabbed the Sea Red just as Montoya is trying to arrest them, but then they realize Roman is there. Roman gives a similar speech into the original. And the Sirens are like, alright, here we go. And then we get the same climax, kind of, from the original, but now in an abandoned park that's super overgrown and covered in fire. Eventually, Montoya gets hit. Harley gets taken away. Harley goes rollerblading after, and then gets helped by Catwoman on her motorcycle. On a foggy pier, Black Mask tries psyching her out, but she's Harley fucking Quinn, the alternate title. And here it actually works, but it turns out Bruno's holding Harley, and Harley's like, help, get Nazi titties off of me! And Bruno's like, well, of course the Roman Empire fell before the great Germanic Empire. Such as always, the Germans shall restore order in Gotham. As soon as I cut the diamond out of her and kill you, Jew. And Harley's like, my name's not Julie! And she tries shooting, but she's out of ammo. But luckily, Harley stole one of Harley's rings. But it's a grenade! In the confusion, Harley manages to get Bruno to trip, and then she falls off the side and blows up. The Sirens all meet back up, and Montoya's like, well, clearly Black Mask and Bruno did all of this, and you girls did nothing wrong. And Harley's like, well, that was fun. Anyone want tacos? And then the next morning, everyone, including the little girl, is having some margaritas. Harley's like, no, seriously, if he just sold photos of it, he wouldn't need to rob banks. And Montoya is like, so what am I supposed to call you girls? And Catwoman immediately is like, the Sirens. Harley's like, Gotham City Sirens. Then she gets a text by the Joker, and she gets kind of excited that Mr. J wants her back. But then Ivy has to be the one to say, hey, you don't need him. And she's like, well, I know, but it's kind of hard. You know, it's Mr. J and all. Ivy putting her hand on her shoulder is like, no, just don't send anything back. And Harley's like, yeah, you're right. Screw him. He doesn't need me. I don't need him. And then Harley starts getting a rumbling in her stomach, and they know the diamond's about to get here. The Sirens decide to take the Golden Lion money, as well as pawning the diamond itself off, stealing the car, finding the hyenas, and getting a breakfast sandwich, and the Sirens decide to go on a Latin American holiday. And then a Spanish cover of Holiday, whoa, 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 starts playing, and narrator Harley returns and explains, Selena, Holly, and Montoya stayed in Mexico for a bit, but eventually returned to Gotham, with Montoya going back to her girlfriend, Selena officially adopting Holly, and she attempts to get back with Bruce. With a bunch of scientific mumbo-jumbo, Ivy was able to create her quick grow formula, as well as a formula to prevent Harley from getting poisoned by Ivy when they kiss, because they also hooked up, but they decided to go their separate ways for a while, because Ivy has business to do in the Brazilian rainforest, and Harley's going on vacation in Costa Maldive. Magpie abandoned the fight in the park and decided to go back to her old Lady Gaga look since Roman's gone. And good for her, because she's a pretty successful independent criminal. The dumbass twins, Rob and Don, who only have one face and 0 brain cells between them, were arrested and eventually went back to their roots of working with Two-Face. Sirens Cosmetics were bought out by Wayne Enterprises. The False Face Society was disbanded. Now with all the big crime families gone, Gotham has completely disorganized crime. But there's plenty of Robins in Gotham to keep it interesting, as well as some creeper former podcaster guy. Then in the post-credit scene, we see Tom Hiddleston Joker, and he's going through a similar breakup, guy stuff. Rolling around, trying to message her, she won't reply after the one message you sent. You keep trying to send her multiple, but you don't want to be too weird about it, so you constantly write ones, but delete them after. Be a sad clown, toss yourself into your work to try and forget about her, fail. Get a tattoo, hate it immediately. Get multiple tattoos, hate them immediately. Lay stuff all around your room to try and get your mind off of it all, just to cry still. And someone tries talking with Joker, but he just shoots him in the face. He cries about it until he hears the voice of someone else saying to get over it, and walks in the room. Bill Skarsgård Joker. We've been basically implying that this is a thing, but yes, we're doing the three Jokers. Willem Dafoe, the clown, Tom Hiddleston, the comedian, and Bill Skarsgård, the criminal. They're all the Joker, they're all different people, they're all very similar, but they're all different. So criminal talks to a comedian to get over Harley, and he's all like, I can't stop thinking about her, I love her. She's literally the only thing that I think about every day. And criminal is all like, she was a nice asset at first, but she kept messing it up and messing it up. She's only a henchman, we can get a new one. I've got a new one, punchline, she's much better than Harley ever was. Now get off your ass, I have a plan that involves you. It's very important, we're gonna need all the clowns. And comedian's like, what about the other Jay? The criminal is like, I haven't seen him since that deal with the junkyard of all those wannabe Red Hoods. So he's either dead or back in jail, who gives a shit? We can split his numbers between both of us. With my plan, we're gonna make plenty more people like us. He kisses Punchline and laughs, and we cut to a warehouse making Joker toxins, pouring into a pool. And eventually this all leads into Suicide Squad 2. I already referenced how I would just basically keep it roughly similar in my original Suicide Squad video. Only other than we have one team instead of another team of wasted potential, and Harley was there on vacation and accidentally gave everyone up by accident, and blackguard by attention. So most of the squad dies in the beginning, and I just do not want Mr. Polka Dot dying. But that's how I will rewrite Birds of Prey into a more proper Harley Quinn film. But what do you guys think? You think you could have done better? You have your own ideas for a rewrite? Let me know in the comments below. And when you're down there, hit the like button and smash the subscribe button.